Hide and clap from The Conjuring scared all of us, but I have a real life story to tell you about it. This guy said that when he was like 10 years old, he lived in this old house, as all stories start, but he had his own bedroom separate from his brother's, but his brother would get scared sometimes, so his brother would want to come and stay in the room with him. He had a massive bunk bed, but they both slept on the bottom part of it. So he's sleeping at one end, his brother's at the other end. He said he wakes up from being like sound asleep to someone clapping over his face, and the air of it and the sound woke him up. Immediately, he thought it was his brother. So he looks down at his brother. His brother's not moving. He's like, okay, he's just messing with me, you know, trying to scare me or whatever. It's working. Good for him. So he tries to go back to sleep. And it happens again, like the big, like, you know, like right above his face in the air. He raises up this time, like kicks towards his brother. His brother is clearly asleep. His brother wakes up a little bit. He asks him, like, are you clapping over my face? Like, did you clap over my face? The brother just looks at him like stunned. He could tell that he had been asleep. So he said he doesn't know if it was just because he was so scared or what. So he lays back down, covers his face up, and he fell asleep. He doesn't remember anything after that. The next morning, he asked his brother about it. The brother said, I heard the clapping. I thought you were doing it. But the brother heard it later because the brother said when he heard the clapping, the other brother was asleep. So years go by, right? He doesn't really say anything about it. He just knows that it's like a haunted house. But then they tell their parents, and their parents won't tell them anything about the house other than the original owner died in the house, and that they got the house for a good deal because no one else wanted it because they knew the guy had died in it. You know, your typical ends up with an old house that someone died in story. Until later in life, he said that he was telling a friend about it, and the friend said, oh my gosh, do you think that it could have been like a real person? Like, what if the person was like playing that game, hide and clap with you? That was my dog. And he was hiding under the bed, but neither one of you checked. Oh my God, which is scarier. It's scarier to think that it was a real person trying to play hide and clap with them, because he said that the back door was left unlocked a lot. So it is very possible that someone could have broke into his house to do that. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Mimics are adapting. Appalachian mimics are getting smarter. I guess that's how you would explain it. This guy said that he lives with his mom. He's like early 20s or whatever. He went to the kitchen one night and he was going to get like a glass of water. Normal for him. He stays up late, like playing games and everything, like gamers or whatever they do. And his mom's a night owl too. So when he got to the kitchen, the lights were off, but his mom was standing by the refrigerator and she had a glass and a bottle of water, and she was like pouring the water into the glass. So he asked, like, oh, you know, can't sleep either, you know, like what's going on? And she turns to him and she says, oh, I'm glad you're here. I need you to go out to my car and get my glasses. Immediately he's like, why do you need your glasses? You know, are you up? Are you trying to read or something? She said, no, I'm going back to bed. I just want to know where my glasses are, and I think they're in the car, but I need you to go get them. He wasn't wearing shoes or anything. He said, I don't want to go out there. I'll go like check in the morning or whatever. I'm just trying to go to bed. I'm tired. She just looks at him. Like, she looks at him and keeps saying like, but my glasses are in the car. You need to go get my glasses out of the car. She just like keeps saying it over and over again. So he walks past her to the fridge, gets a bottle of water, and then goes back to his room. Now, on his way back to his room, he passed her room. She is in the bed asleep. His mom's in the bed asleep. So immediately he knows that whatever was in the kitchen, or whoever was in the kitchen, wasn't his mom. He goes back to bed, like locks the door. The next morning he asked her about it, and she said, I don't know what you're talking about, or, you know, like what's going on. And he tells her everything that happened, and she said, my glasses are on the nightstand. That's where I keep them. Like, what are you even talking about? But the way he knew that he didn't dream it is because the glass and the bottle of water that his mom had were still sitting on the counter, and they were the only things on the counter. But here's the thing, like, mimics really don't know like what they want or what they do, but they typically try to get you to come outside or to let them in, and this thing was already in the house. So why was it trying to get him to go outside? What's going on? What's that all about? Is that new? It's new to me. Is it new to you? If I think there's a ghost around and a cat confirms it, I'm out of there. But not everyone has that instinct, so let me tell you what happened with this girl. So she's dating this guy. They've been dating for a while. He still lived at home, but instead of like living in the house, he had this RV in the backyard that he stayed in. Apparently a part got deleted, but he had this fixer-upper car that he was working on that he wanted to race, and it's set beside the RV. Things weren't really great with the guy, but she was trying to make it work, and she would be there sometimes alone, like when he had to go and get parts or whatever, I don't know. But she was in this RV a lot by herself, and he had a cat. Started off small. She thought she would hear something like in the back part of the RV, and the cat would immediately like run to the corner and like look down the hallway and then look back at her like, don't go down there. Then the cat would go and sit by her on the couch, and they would wait until the guy got back. Then they started hearing things like walking around outside. Well, the girl did, and the cat, but the cat would look at her immediately like, okay, you heard that too, right? One night she's in bed and she feels the boyfriend like roll over, and he like snuggles her up. She's like the small spoon and everything, and she's like rubbing on his hand. And so he rolls over and kind of takes the blanket with her. So she rolls over with him. But when she rolls over with him, he's way on the other side of the king size bed. Nothing was originally beside her. Immediately the cat jumps up, gets on her chest, and is like guarding, like looking around. This didn't happen just once, like several times she would wake up to something pulling the blankets off of her, or she would see something creepy or like a shadow standing around her, and then immediately the cat would show up like, girl, no. This goes on for a while. She sees something like dark and black walking around outside the RV. She's freaking out, which I would be too. She's fighting with the dude. They finally end up breaking up. So she's back at her own apartment now. She's still having weird things happen where like the blankets are being pulled off of her, all of this stuff. So she thinks whatever it is she brought back to her house. She's freaking out. I would be too. Well, this goes on for a few weeks, but then she has this dream one night that something horrible happened to the guy that she was dating. And she said it was very realistic. And she wakes up and she'd gotten a text from his friend saying that he'd been in a bad car wreck and that he had wrecked that car that he'd been working on when they were dating. He ended up being okay, which was great. They didn't get back together, but get this, she stopped seeing all of the stuff after that car was totaled. So she thinks whatever it was that was haunting the RV wasn't tied to the RV, it was tied to the car. And then after he wrecked the car, it was able to like move on or something. I don't know. But now I'm like, ugh. What do you think? Do you think it was tied to the car or the RV, or do you think it was just like a weird coincidence? Let me know. Ouija boards are bad news. I've tried to tell you so many times, but maybe you'll listen after this story. Tyler had been dating this girl for a while. He said that she was really into Ouija boards, which didn't really bother him because he kind of knew that about her already, but she didn't bring it around him. Well, she did it all the time. And I'm not talking just like a little bit. Like that was like her thing. She was like the Ouija board queen, okay? Tyler had a son with a previous girlfriend. After like a year of dating this girl, he introduces her to his son. First night that they all spend the night at the same time in the apartment, the son wakes up crying, saying he was having a nightmare. Said that he saw this woman with long black hair that would stand at his bed and scream at him. He thought it was just kids being kids. He didn't think much of it. Next night it happens again. Well, then it's like a week or whatever. A couple of weeks go by before he brings the girl back around again. Then the same thing happens. It gets to the point where the son doesn't want to come and stay with Tyler anymore because it's freaking him out. He's talking to the girl about it, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, this is when the girl starts acting weird. She said that she did something with the Ouija board. She crossed a line or whatever, and that they were coming for her. I'm sorry, who's they? He's like laughing about it, thinking that it's funny, you know, like it's all just a weird coincidence. Boy, bah, because no. So they're out walking one night. They're walking down the street and it's got like street lamps. They're just like walking, talking. She's freaking out, saying that she's like really scared that these things, like they are coming to get her when the street light goes out. He uses that as an opportunity to mock her, like, oh yeah, here they come. They're coming to get you, which, oh, nothing's worse than when you're freaking out and a guy doesn't take it seriously. She freezes up, doesn't even want to walk, so he grabs her hand, he drags her to the next light, like just to keep going. It goes out as well. He's laughing even harder now. He says, like, what's the chances? That's so funny. You know, it's just like adding to her paranoia. He said that he worked with electrical stuff, so he knew that the chances of it were slim, but you know, big deal. Just thought it was funny. So he takes her to the other side of the street to try to like calm her nerves. But guess what? They get over there. The light goes out again. She starts screaming hysterically, runs, leaves. He just lets her go. But anyway, they end up breaking up. And he said as soon as they broke up, the nightmare stopped for the son. He never saw that lady in black screaming at his bed again. So was it all related? Probably. Because, you know, that's what happens when you're the Ouija board queen. You get things that you don't want sometimes. And I know a lot of you like to play the Ouija board. Not me. I do not recommend it, but yeah. Anything like that ever happened to you guys? Like, have you ever seen the lady screaming at you? Lights ever gone out? If you play the Ouija board? I don't know. I don't play with things like that, so I won't be finding out. Another scary story for the Fright Night Files, and this one kind of freaks me out. Kevin said he was 10. His great aunt had passed away. He didn't really care, which he said was harsh, but he never knew her, so no big deal to him. But he had to go to the funeral. It was in this small town. They had to drive forever. He doesn't remember exactly like where it was at. His parents had passed on. Anyway, to get there, it's this little bitty town. He said there was nothing in the town but like the funeral home pretty much, and that was it. So he goes in, he's listening to all of the family talk, and he's just kind of standing there kicking at the carpet, bored out of his mind, but he's the only kid there. So he thought. Then this other little boy shows up. He said he was about the same age as him, maybe like a year older, and said, hey, do you want to come upstairs? I have my video games upstairs. We can go upstairs and play. Kevin said he didn't think twice about it because he was bored out of his mind. So he went with the little boy. They went upstairs. Now, the funeral home was like, the funeral stuff, I guess, was in the basement. The funeral home was like in the main area, and then the family lived upstairs. So he goes upstairs. They go into the little boy's room. They're playing video games. He's up there for a while, he said. He'd been up there in the room for about 30 minutes playing games, and they were kind of taking turns when he tells him, like, hey, I'm going to go to the kitchen real quick. I'll be right back. Kevin's like, cool. He hands him the controller, so he just continues playing. That's when an adult comes in the room, like a guy he'd never seen before. The guy just stands there and stares at Kevin. Well, he said it felt like forever of them just staring back and forth, and the guy says, what are you doing in here? Kevin tells him what just happened, that the kid brought him up here and everything, and the adult just says, come with me, we have to go find your mom and dad. So he pauses the game. He goes back with the guy. They go downstairs. He figures like the other kid's already down there or something, and that's why he's getting in trouble. He doesn't know. The guy takes him to his parents. Then they end up leaving or whatever. They're in the car, and his mom is furious. She turns back and she's like, why would you go up to that room? Why would you go upstairs in a house you've never been in? Like, why would you go up there? He tells her, like, I only went because the kid invited me, and she's like yelling, like, stop lying. Why are you lying? You know, today's stressful enough. Why are you doing this to us? Kevin tells his mom, I don't know why you're upset. The little boy invited me up there. Was I not supposed to play his game or something? Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I was bored. And that's when she said that little boy died 7 years ago. His family had kept his room like completely the same after he passed away, and they had no other children, so there's no way any little boy invited you up there. Kevin just looks at his mom. He's like, I promise you, I promise, like, I don't know what to tell you. A kid invited me up there. To this day, he still has no idea how he got asked by some little kid that had passed away like 7 years earlier up to play video games, but he said it happened. Have you ever had anything like this happen to you?